You're watching the original Life and Sad Ending channel. Jimmy Nicol is now 83 years old. In 1964, he was an English drummer from London who was thrust into the spotlight when Ringo's star fell ill with tonsillitis and a severe sore throat just days before the start of the Beatles' 1964 world tour.
George Harrison, Paul McCartney, John Lepper,
Jimmy Nicol.
Nicol was quickly recruited to fill in for Starr, and he played 8 concerts and taped a TV show as the Beatles' drummer, thus elevating him from relative obscurity to worldwide fame and then back again in just 2 weeks' time. It was the eve of the Beatles' 1964 Australian tour. The band's manager, Brian Epstein, and their producer, George Martin, urgently discussed the possibility of using a replacement drummer rather than canceling part of the tour. Martin suggested Jimmy Nicol, as he had recently used him on a recording session. Although John Lennon and Paul McCartney quickly accepted the idea of using a substitute, George Harrison threatened to pull out of the tour, telling Epstein and Martin, "If Ringo's not going, then neither am I. You can find 2 replacements." Martin recalled that George was a very loyal person. It took all of Brian's and my persuasion to tell George that if he didn't do it, he was letting everybody down. The arrangements were made very quickly. From a telephone call to Nicol at his home in West London, inviting him to attend an audition rehearsal at Abbey Road Studios, to packing his bags, all in the same day.
As far as Ringo, I can never make up for what Ringo is. You know.
How long will you be doing this?
Until next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Yes.
So you're sort of understudy.
Yes, I am.
You think it's a great break?
Oh yes. Excellent.
Treating you good?
And marvelous.
Starr stated that it was very strange them going off without me. They'd taken Jimmy Nicol and I thought they didn't love me anymore. All that stuff went through my head. Starr rejoined the group in Melbourne, Australia on June 14th. Jimmy Nicol was unable to say goodbye to the Beatles as they were still asleep when he left and he didn't want to bother them. At the Melbourne airport, Epstein presented him with a check for £500, equivalent to $11,000 today, and a gold wristwatch inscribed, "From the Beatles and Brian Epstein to Jimmy, with appreciation and gratitude." Once Starr returned to the group, Nicol was quickly forgotten. Jimmy tried to capitalize on his brief stint as a Beatle, but he was never able to achieve the same level of success. He released a few singles and toured with a few bands, but he never found the same level of fame and fortune. Sadly, in 1965, Nicol declared bankruptcy just 9 months after being a temporary Beatle. In the years since his time as a Beatle, Nicol has lived a quiet life. He achieved a level of fame that most people could only dream of, but he was never able to sustain it. If you like this presentation, hit that like button right now. It means a lot to the channel and I sure do appreciate it. Maybe even subscribe. And I'll see you next time, unless I come to my own sad ending.